Hello and greetings from St. Louis, Missouri. I am Sarah Krueger. I am the founder and lead search consultant here at Occhio Search and Recruitment. I've spent 20 years in the search world and staffing world, and I've worked with a number of nonprofit organizations who have been experiencing critical leadership transitions like yourself. I've partnered with them on a pre-search basis as well as assisted their board-appointed search committees throughout the actual search and recruitment process for their next ED, CEO, or president position. I can sympathize. Leadership transitions are no doubt tough. They're tough on every individual within your organization and at every level. We need to consider it a journey, and you're at the very beginning of that journey, and I'm here to share the good news that this is a journey you can prepare for. Some might think it's simply about the actual recruitment process, but I would encourage you to do some significant preparation before you jump in. In order to navigate a successful leadership transition, we're going to need to spin a few plates and keep them spinning all at the same time in order to get this one right. Add in COVID, which has created an immense amount of uncertainty for ourselves, our families, and our workplaces over the last couple of years. And a leadership transition at first glance seems to offer no more than the same. But it doesn't have to be that way. There are ways to prevent and prepare and foster a sense of comfort as your organization moves through this transition. I will say COVID has intensified the need for best practices, for thorough preparation, for robust communication, for planning, and quite honestly, a genuine and authentic connection with every individual in your organization. Taking no one or no thing for granted as you move through your transition is something to keep top of mind. So when I think about the pre-search phase, which comes before the actual recruitment process, I think about how we can raise the odds of a great hire. This preparation is about doing just that, raising the odds of not just a great hire, but also a stellar onboarding process for your individual. And in order to do that, we must be well aligned as an organization, and we must come prepared with a compelling story so that candidates will love and embrace our organization, our mission, and want to join us for that journey. That's what we call an employee value proposition. Why should someone come and join and lead your organization? We want to be doing exactly what our new leader would want us to be doing at this time in their absence. So when you think about your preparation in that sense, there's 3 plates that I mentioned we need to spin all at once ideally. And those 3 plates are taking care of our internal stakeholders, taking care, leveraging, caring for our external stakeholders, think board, donors, strategic partners, and also paying attention to the organization itself. Oftentimes, this last step is overlooked, and it's really important. The organization has its own identity and its own needs at this time. We want to essentially move closer to the stakeholders on these 3 spinning plates as we move forward. So a few tips before we move on into your journey. Initially, I would recommend appointing 2 key leaders, ideally ahead of your transition team and the head of your search committee. Quite frankly, you could use co-chairs, but more than likely your head of your transition process is going to be your board chair. It should be someone who has exceptional communication skills and a high level of EQ. Emotional intelligence will be critical as you move through this journey. When thinking about external stakeholders, don't forget about your donors and your strategic partners. Those relationships need to be built and fostered and nurtured, not just at the executive director level, but on throughout the organization, so that when your ED leaves, those relationships don't go with him or her. From an internal perspective, we want to talk about that communication plan, and that's exactly what your transition leader should be tasked with. How will the news roll out that your current leader is leaving? Who will hear first? Who will hear second? How will external parties be notified? What does the role for your departing executive director, or perhaps you went with an interim executive director, what does that role look like? Let's manage the expectations and set some guideposts in terms of what those roles look like in this interim phase. We also want to take stock of internal talent. There may, for all we know, be a rock star in the wings who could take the helm of your organization and lead it successfully into the future. But more importantly, we want to take a look at individuals who could be what I call transition champions for your organization. These are individuals who would serve as a source of comfort and or information for other employees during the transition process. And this is a tool that your transition leader can utilize and leverage as they move through the process. Lastly, we want to think about the organization itself. I mentioned this is most oftentimes overlooked. Obviously, institutional knowledge is a paramount need to secure, and there might be a lot of that institutional knowledge walking out the door with your departing leader. So what can you do? What processes, procedures, techniques could you put into place to capture some of that departing knowledge? Most importantly, your board should spend some time thinking about where you've been as an organization, where you are now, and where you would like to go. And therein lies the secret to your recruiting success. In order to take your organization to its next level, we need to identify what the criteria are in order to get there. Is it a fundraising challenge? Is it a program challenge? You would know better than I, but those are the types of things you need to identify objectively. What is it going to take to get our organization from its current level forward? And that will help shape the criteria for your new hire. Of course, this process ideally takes 6 to 12 months, but you may or may not have it. You can expedite these steps in any order. Just don't skip any steps. As mentioned, COVID has intensified the need for good planning and great communication. We want to appear to our external candidates as well-organized organizations with passionate employees who are working towards a compelling mission. We want to invite them into our world and understand what it could be to lead our organization into the future. With that, I wish you all the luck in your transition ahead. It can and should be a great journey. You are building the next chapter for your organization, and I wish you well.